Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something literally every parent is wrestling with right now. We're unpacking a truly compelling case study out of Mastery Martial Arts in Troy, Michigan, and looking at the absolute tug of war going on between passive screen time and active physical challenges. We're going to break down exactly what's happening inside a child's developing brain when they're glued to a device, and more importantly, what this source material suggests is the absolute best way to re-engage them in the real world. So let's jump right into a question that I know is going to feel incredibly relatable. You know the exact scenario, right? 30 minutes on the tablet somehow turns into an hour, and when you finally ask them to turn it off, you're met with resistance that feels almost feral. They don't want to go for a bike ride, they don't want to go to the park. The article poses this question directly to parents dealing with moody, sluggish kids who just fiercely resist putting the screens away. Parents everywhere are noticing this pattern and secretly asking themselves, is this just how kids are now? Is my child's brain broken? Am I just doing something completely wrong? Well, first off, take a deep breath, because it's absolutely not bad parenting. And no, your child's brain isn't broken. The source really emphasizes this point to reassure caregivers you aren't doing anything wrong here. What's actually happening is that a developing brain is simply begging for something that endless swiping just cannot provide. The debate isn't just about policing the hours spent on a device. It's fundamentally about what those specific digital activities are building, or honestly failing to build, in a child's brain and body. To really grasp this, we need to look at how neuroscientists define the whole passive screen experience. Enter a little something called the dopamine loop. See, screens provide these quick hits of novelty and stimulation, and they require almost zero physical or mental effort. So the brain quickly learns this very simple, very addictive cycle. Push a button, get a reward. Swipe a screen, get a surprise. The more a child does this, the more their developing nervous system gets completely hardwired to expect instant gratification. It's not that screens are inherently evil. It's just that they are highly engineered to be totally irresistible to this biological system. And this sets up a huge, stark contrast between those irresistible algorithms and real-world activities. On one side of the ring, you've got constant, low-effort, high-reward screen cycles. On the other side, you have the slow-build achievements of the real world. You know, the stuff that actually requires patience, physical effort, and persistence. A growing brain that's just constantly flooded with the low-effort rewards of a screen is naturally going to start losing interest in the slower, more demanding, but ultimately way more fulfilling process of real-world achievement. So, what happens when the screen finally goes away? Well, the nervous system actively rebels. Kids get moody not necessarily because they're fully addicted, but because their nervous system absolutely expects immediate stimulation. When that vanishes, normal, everyday boredom suddenly feels totally intolerable to them. You'll see their frustration tolerance just drop off a cliff, their attention spans shrink, and, ironically enough, they often get incredibly physically restless. And the source points out this happens precisely because their bodies haven't been genuinely challenged or tired out by real physical effort. Okay, so how do we counter this brain chemistry? The source brings in a really powerful stance from the American Psychological Association. They state that consistent, structured practice is literally one of the most effective tools we have for developing lasting character in kids. The answer to the screen time dilemma isn't just snatching the tablet away and leaving a giant void. It's about replacing it with a structured practice that provides exactly what those developing brains actually crave. Which brings us right to the core solution presented in the source material. This explainer highlights 4 very specific pillars that martial arts provides as a healthy, developmental alternative to those hollow dopamine hits. Drawing from their hands-on experience at Mastery Martial Arts, they argue that the mat offers something screens simply can't touch. We're going to walk through each of these 4 pillars, real challenges, human connection, earned rewards, and the nervous system reset, to see exactly how they rewire a child's habits. Let's start with pillar number 1, real challenges. There is just a massive night and day difference between passive consumption and full physical presence. Think about it. A martial arts kata, or a sparring drill, it demands total focus. A child absolutely cannot half-engage their body and still make progress on the mat. They have to think 3 moves ahead, adjust their posture in real time, and keep pushing when they fail. This isn't some artificial push-button game. It is genuine difficulty that builds real, tangible skill, muscle memory, and some serious resilience. Moving on to the second crucial pillar, and this one is huge: human connection. Algorithms are literally designed to keep a child clicking, but a mentor actually sees them. Having an instructor who personally knows your kid's name, understands their unique quirks and strengths, and recognizes exactly where they struggle, that provides a level of motivation that an algorithm could never, ever replicate. The source really emphasizes that kids absolutely thrive when they know they are seen and supported by someone they respect in the real world. Then we have the third pillar, earned rewards. And I want to emphasize earned. A belt promotion isn't something handed out just for logging hours like screen time. It is earned by pushing through real frustration. When a child finally gets that next belt after weeks of showing up and mastering really difficult techniques, they internalize an incredibly valuable life lesson. True achievement requires real effort. The source notes that this aha moment fundamentally reshapes how kids approach challenges, not just on the mat, but literally everywhere else in their lives. And our fourth pillar is what they call the physical reset button. Vigorous physical movement acts as a literal reset switch for a child's nervous system. When they are breathing hard, focusing their energy, and really pushing their muscles, they are pulled completely out of that low-arousal, dopamine-seeking zombie state created by tablets and phones. The result? They walk off the mat activated, present, and genuinely deeply tired. The source highlights that this specific kind of physical fatigue leads directly to much better sleep and way calmer moods at home. But hey, don't just take the theory for it. How does this reset translate into real life? Take this local dad, Marcus, from Sterling Heights. He pointed out that the absolute biggest change in his son was his patience. Instead of getting super frustrated and just giving up immediately, which is a classic symptom of that screen default we talked about, his son now practices a technique repeatedly until he nails it. And the absolute best part? That newfound grit has directly bled over into how he handles his schoolwork, too. And then there's the joy factor. Listen to this observation from another parent, Jennifer from Rochester Hills. She describes her daughter as genuinely happy after class, not just giving that standard, flat, I'm fine teenager response, but really authentically happy. Jennifer's observation hits so hard because, as she says, when you've got a kid glued to a screen all day, parents can literally forget what genuine, non-screen-related happiness even looks like. Getting active in a real community brings that joy right back to the surface. And this one blew my mind a little bit because the ultimate goal here is organic change. Look at what Sarah from Troy experienced. After just 3 weeks of training, her daughter completely stopped asking for screen time. Sarah didn't even have to mention it or nag her about it. This happens because the kid's nervous system is finally getting those rich, complex, physical and mental challenges it inherently needs. It turns out, healthier habits can actually develop entirely on their own once the brain's fundamental needs are finally being met by the real world. So, as we wrap up these findings, the source boils it all down to a few simple truths. First up, zero guilt required for past screen time. Mastery martial arts maintains a completely judgment-free zone. We've all been there. Second, kids absolutely do not need to be naturally athletic or coordinated or ready in any way to step onto the mat and start rewiring their habits. They literally just need to show up. And finally, they note that free 14-day trials offer a really great low-pressure way for families to just test the waters and see these benefits firsthand without any stressful commitment. We're going to leave you with a major perspective shift here to end this explainer. When we agonize over screen time, we almost always focus purely on the restriction, on what we're taking away from the kid. But instead, ask yourself this: what are you actually adding to your child's brain? Instead of just fighting a losing battle to restrict the tablet, how can you introduce the structured, physical, and highly rewarding challenges that your child's developing nervous system is actually begging for? It's a hugely powerful question, and honestly, one that just might change your family's daily routine for good.